the CEO who came back from the grave. The rain pounded the pavement like an angry drummer, each drop exploding on the slick, black surface outside the Grand Sterling Hotel. I tightened the grip on my duffel bag, inhaling deeply as I stepped under the golden awning, the warm glow of the chandeliers spilling through the glass doors. This was my hotel, my empire, but tonight I was nothing more than a nameless guest. I adjusted my coat, shaking off the wet chill before pushing through the entrance. The lobby was immaculate, marble floors polished to a mirror shine, the scent of expensive cologne and fresh orchids filling the air. Every detail was as I designed it, yet not a single person here recognized me. And that was exactly the point. I scanned the room, eyes locking on the reception desk, where a man in a tailored suit leaned against the counter, his lips curled in amusement as he chatted with the young concierge. The name tag on his lapel gleamed under the chandelier's glow. Ethan Caldwell, General Manager. My most trusted hire, or so I thought. I approached the desk, keeping my tone measured. "Good evening. I'd like to book a room." The receptionist, a nervous young woman, barely glanced at me before typing on her computer. "Do you have a reservation?" "Number. But I'm willing to pay for the penthouse suite." Ethan's head snapped toward me, his brow lifting. His gaze trailed over my wind-blown hair, my damp coat, my worn duffel bag. The moment stretched, his smirk deepening, and then he laughed, loud, openly, like I had just cracked the world's funniest joke. I stiffened. "Something funny?" Ethan straightened, adjusting his suit cuffs. "Sir, perhaps you'd be more comfortable in a, shall we say, more affordable accommodation?" The implication hit me like a slap. He thought I was a vagrant, some nobody who had wandered in off the street, daring to ask for a suite that cost more per night than most people made in a month. Anger burned low in my chest. "I'll pay in cash, right now." His smirk didn't waver. "Unfortunately, we have a very strict guest policy." His voice turned saccharine, condescending. "You see, we cater to a certain caliber of clientele." I let his words settle. He wasn't just rejecting me, he was dismissing me, humiliating me. I had built this place from the ground up. I had approved his hiring, increased his salary, given him authority, and now he was looking me in the eye and telling me I wasn't good enough to step foot in my own hotel. I exhaled slowly, forcing a smile. "I see." Ethan clapped his hands together. "Glad you understand. Security will be happy to escort you." "Not necessary." I grabbed my bag, turning toward the exit. But before I stepped outside, I glanced back, locking eyes with him one last time. "Enjoy your position while you can." Ethan chuckled. "Oh, I intend to." I walked out into the night, rain soaking into my collar. Tomorrow he wouldn't be laughing. Tomorrow he'd realize who I really was. And when he did, he'd be begging for mercy. The rain hadn't let up by morning, but neither had my anger. I sat in a diner across the street from the Grand Sterling, the scent of burnt coffee and grease mingling in the air. My fingers drummed against the chipped countertop as I stared out the foggy window, watching the hotel's revolving doors spin with well-dressed guests. Ethan Caldwell had no idea what was coming, but as much as I wanted to storm in there and reveal myself, something gnawed at the edge of my mind. How had it come to this? The people running my hotel, the business I built from nothing, didn't even recognize me. I hadn't been away for that long. Sure, I'd kept a low profile in recent months, stepping back from the day-to-day, but had my absence really erased me? Or was something else going on? I pulled out my phone, flipping through old emails and company reports. Everything looked normal. Profits were up, operations running smoothly. And yet, something felt off. I searched for Ethan's hiring records. I had personally vetted him. He was sharp, ambitious, a little cocky, but I trusted him. And now, I clenched my jaw. Maybe I'd been blind. I dialed an old contact, Jacob Langley, my former head of security, the one man I knew wouldn't feed me corporate PR. It rang, once, twice. Then, "The number you are trying to reach is no longer in service." I froze. Jacob had been with me for years. He wouldn't just vanish. I tried his work email. Bounced back. I gripped the phone tighter, my mind racing. This wasn't just about Ethan's arrogance. Something had changed, and I needed to find out what. The first false assumption, I left the diner and headed to the hotel's underground parking garage. If I couldn't walk in through the front door, I'd find another way in. I still had my old employee credentials, a small plastic key card tucked into my wallet. If they hadn't changed the system, it would still work on the back entrance. I swiped. Denied. I tried again. Access restricted. I exhaled through my nose. Frustration mounting. Fine. I waited until a valet exited the staff entrance, then slipped in before the door clicked shut. The service hallway smelled of industrial cleaner and coffee. I moved quickly, head down, my pulse steady. Years of knowing this place inside and out gave me an advantage. Secret elevators, blind spots in security. I just needed to reach the executive offices. But as I turned a corner, voices stopped me cold. "He's gone for good." A woman's voice. "It's no loose ends." "Ethan." I pressed against the wall, heart hammering. "There's no trace," the woman replied smoothly. "As far as anyone knows, he walked away. And that's the story we're sticking with." Silence, then Ethan laughed. "Perfect." Ice crawled down my spine. Who were they talking about? A guest? A business partner? Or? A horrifying thought settled like a weight in my chest. Were they talking about me? I had assumed this was just an ego trip, a cocky manager power tripping over a customer. But what if it was something much, much worse? I had built this empire, and somehow I had been erased from it. I needed answers, and I needed them now. I had been erased, not just ignored, not just pushed aside, erased. The truth slammed into me like a freight train. Someone, Ethan Moore, had rewritten history, removed me from my own empire, and made sure no one even questioned it. And I had walked in last night like a fool, thinking I was just dealing with a cocky manager on a power trip. I wasn't just an outsider, I was a ghost. But how and why? I needed proof. I needed leverage. I turned back toward the executive offices, slipping into a side corridor, when a voice called out, "Hey, you're not supposed to be here." I turned, pulse spiking. A security guard. Young, tall, unfamiliar. I forced a calm smile. "Oh, I was just looking for—" "Come with me." His hand reached for my arm. Wrong move. I twisted sharply, using his own momentum to throw him off balance. He stumbled, and I darted into the emergency stairwell, taking the steps two at a time. I burst onto the 7th floor, my old office. The hall was eerily quiet. I moved quickly, reaching for the door handle. Locked. Of course, but I still had one last trick. I dropped to my knees, pulling a thin metal strip from my wallet, a tension bar I had carried for years, a habit from my early days in business when deals weren't always made in boardrooms. I slipped it into the lock. One twist, two. A click. Open. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. The air smelled faintly of cologne, not mine. Someone else had been using this office. I moved to the desk, booting up the computer. I had a personal login, one tied directly to executive systems. I typed it in. Access denied. I frowned. Tried again. User not found. My stomach twisted. I dug deeper, searching through the system using a secondary method. Employee records. I needed to see my own name. I scrolled. Ethan Caldwell, General Manager. Rebecca Vance, Chief of Operations. Lucas Hale, CEO. I froze. CEO. Lucas Hale. The name burned into my vision. I wasn't the CEO anymore. Someone had replaced me. The twist, the real villain. The office door suddenly burst open. I turned, Ethan. But he wasn't alone. A second man stepped inside. Tall, gray at the temples. Lucas Hale. He smiled, a slow, measured smile. "Ah, there you are." My mouth went dry. "Lucas." I forced my voice to stay steady. "Sitting in my chair, I see." He chuckled. "Oh, come on. That chair hasn't been yours for months." I took a step forward. "You had me erased." His smile didn't falter. "Not erased, just replaced." My pulse pounded. "Why?" Lucas exhaled as if disappointed. "You left the door open, my friend. You stepped back, let others run the show. It was so easy. A signature here, a vote there." He shrugged. "And just like that, you were Irrelevant. Number this wasn't just a power grab. It was calculated, planned, and I had walked right into it. I built this company, I said, voice tight. I made it what it is. Lucas nodded. And I'll make sure you're remembered for it. A pause. In memoriam. A chill ran down my spine. Ethan shifted beside him, a smirk playing at his lips. Security's already been called. I glanced at the computer screen one last time. No name, no trace. I had lost everything. For now. But they had just made their first mistake. They thought they had won. They thought I was out. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I smiled. You should have made sure I stayed gone. Then I grabbed the nearest chair and threw it straight through the window. Glass shattered, alarms blared, chaos erupted, and in the midst of it, I ran. Because if they thought I was dangerous before, they had no idea what was coming next. The city lights blurred as I drove, weaving through traffic, my grip tight on the steering wheel. My pulse was a relentless drumbeat in my ears. Lucas Hale had taken everything from me. He thought I was done, that I'd disappear into the night, broken and defeated. He had no idea what kind of war he'd just started. The plan was simple. Confront him, expose the truth, and take back what was mine. But deep down, I knew nothing about this night would be simple. I parked a block from the Grand Sterling, ditching the car in a dark alley. My mind raced. Lucas wouldn't be alone. Ethan would be there. Security, too. And if I walked through the front door, I wouldn't walk out. I wasn't just fighting for my company anymore. I was fighting for my existence. The showdown, the executive penthouse, was dark when I entered. No security, no guards, just Lucas, sitting in my chair, sipping my whiskey, like he owned the place. He glanced up, unfazed. Took you long enough? I didn't sit, didn't speak, just stared at the man who had stolen my life. Lucas sighed, setting his glass down. You were always so sentimental. You built something great, but you never understood how to keep it. He leaned forward. Power isn't about who deserves it. It's about who's willing to do what's necessary. My chest burned with fury. You forged my signature, deleted my name, erased me. Lucas nodded. And yet, here you are, a ghost, haunting your own empire. I took a slow step forward. But ghosts don't just disappear, do they? He chuckled. Number, they have to be exorcised. The door behind me opened. Ethan, and two security guards. The tension snapped tight, the air heavy with unsaid threats. Lucas sighed, shaking his head. I should have done this right from the start. He nodded to the guards. They moved. So did I. I grabbed the decanter off the table, hurling it at the first guard's head. Glass shattered. He stumbled back. Ethan lunged, but I caught his wrist, twisting him into the desk with a sickening crack. He yelped, collapsing. The second guard pulled a gun. Lucas held up a hand. Number, not yet. A sick smile. A trap. I exhaled, hands clenched. What's the end game, Lucas? He stood, slow and deliberate. I already won. The company is mine. The people are mine. And soon your legacy will be mine too. I swallowed down the rage clawing at my throat. You think people won't notice? That I just vanished? They already have, he said smoothly. I gave them a better version of you. One who plays by the rules. One who doesn't let emotion cloud his judgment. His words cut deep. Because once I had trusted him, I forced a bitter smile. And yet, you're still afraid of me. Lucas stilled. For the first time, something flickered behind his cold expression. Doubt. He turned to Ethan, still groaning on the floor. Get up, Ethan coughed. He's insane. No. Lucas's gaze stayed locked on me. He's desperate. I took another step forward. You stole my company, my reputation, my name, I said, voice deadly calm. But you forgot the most important thing. Lucas raised a brow. And what's that? I leaned in. I built this place, and I know exactly where the bodies are buried. His smirk faltered. I pulled out my phone, flipping the screen toward him. A live feed, security footage, emails, documents, every corrupt deal he had made, every illegal transaction, the entire foundation of his stolen empire, laid bare. Lucas's face turned to stone. Ethan paled. How did you? I smiled. I never left, Ethan. I just let you think I did. Lucas exhaled, slow, measured, calculating. He stepped closer. You could destroy me right now, he murmured. Take everything back. Ruin my name. Have me arrested. I tilted my head. That was the idea. But then what? He asked. Do you think the board will just hand you the company back? That the people will follow you like nothing happened? I clenched my jaw. He was right. Even if I exposed him, I might never get my company back. Lucas smiled, reading the hesitation in my eyes. So here's my offer. You walk away, disappear, and in return? He leaned in. I let you live. Silence. This was it. The impossible choice. Destroy him, but lose everything in the process. Or walk away and let him win. I looked at the phone in my hand, at the undeniable proof, at the years of my life that he had taken. Then I did something that made Lucas's confidence shatter. I laughed. Low, cold. Lucas frowned. Something funny? I locked eyes with him. You think this is leverage? I held up the phone. This is just the beginning. Lucas stiffened. You stole my company, I said, but I built an empire. Connections, power, and if you think I need this, I tossed the phone onto the desk untouched. To burn you to the ground, you have no idea who you're dealing with. A flicker of something new crossed his face. Fear. You think I won't? I whispered. That I won't drag you down with me? That I won't make sure you lose everything? Lucas swallowed. You stole my name, I continued, but now I'm going to steal yours. His face paled, because for the first time, he didn't know what I was capable of, and that terrified him. The aftermath, the price of victory, by morning, the news broke. Headlines, scandals, Lucas Hale under investigation, Ethan Caldwell fired, whispers ran through the halls of the Grand Sterling. The board scrambled, stock plummeted, and me? I walked through those front doors again, no longer a ghost, no longer erased. I wasn't here to take back what was stolen. I was here to take everything, because Lucas had been right about one thing. Power isn't about who deserves it. It's about who's willing to do what's necessary. And after everything they had done to me, I was willing to do whatever it took. The king had returned. And this time, I wasn't here to play fair. The Grand Sterling was mine again. But it didn't feel like victory. The board welcomed me back with forced smiles and cautious glances, whispering in corridors like I was a ghost returned from the dead. The headlines painted me as a legend, the CEO who came back from the grave. But legends are just stories people tell to make sense of the unthinkable. And the unthinkable had happened. Lucas was finished. His name was Ash. The evidence buried him under lawsuits, federal investigations, and an avalanche of public disgrace. But power never disappears, it just moves. And I had taken it for myself. I stood in my office watching the city glow beneath me. I should have felt whole, complete. Instead, I felt empty. There was no celebration, no relief, just a quiet, nagging question. Had I won, or had I simply become the man I swore to destroy? A knock at the door. Ethan. His arm was in a sling, his expression hesitant. Once he had been my friend. Now, he was a loose end I hadn't decided whether to cut. He stepped in, gaze wary. It's over. I didn't answer, because we both knew that was a lie. Lucas might have been gone, but the game, the real game, it never ended. Ethan shifted. I did what I had to do. I turned, my voice quiet. So did I. A pause, then softer. Would you do it again? Ethan swallowed. Would you? I didn't answer, because the truth was, I didn't know anymore. That night, I found myself back at the penthouse. The one Lucas had taken from me. It was mine again, every inch of this place. And yet, it felt colder than ever. I poured myself a drink, staring at my reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows. Lucas had once sat in this very spot. Now he was gone, and I was here. I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I saw the truth, clear as glass. This wasn't revenge. It was inheritance. Lucas hadn't lost. He had simply passed the torch. And in my desperate fight to destroy him, I had become him. The phone on my desk buzzed. An unknown number. I hesitated before answering. A familiar voice, smooth as ever, came through the line. Lucas. Chills ran down my spine. You're supposed to be ruined? A soft chuckle. Come on, you should know by now. Men like us, we don't lose. We just adapt. My grip tightened on the glass. You have nothing left. Don't I? His voice was calm. Too calm. Look outside. I turned and froze. Across the street, in the high-rise opposite mine, Lucas stood in the window, staring right at me. A slow, knowing smile. He was still in the game. And no matter what I thought, it was never over. The line clicked dead. I stood there, the city buzzing below, my own reflection staring back. And for the first time, I didn't recognize the man in the glass. I thought I had taken back my life. But maybe I had just sold my soul.